BRICS countries, BRICS is just an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These BRICS countries comprise 31.5% of the world's GDP. So this is no small, obscure group of countries. And they are in the process of building their own reserve currency right now. And they're basing it not just on the full faith and credit of the United States government, like the US dollar is, they're basing it on gold, a gold standard, if you will, gold and uranium and copper and graphite. And other countries around the world, like Egypt and Mexico even, are sending applications in by the day, trying to be a part of this BRICS or this BRICS alliance. There's a separation happening. We talk often about a national divorce. This is an international divorce that is taking place. And on one side is the United States and our closest allies, and on the other side are these BRICS countries, China and Russia and Iran and Brazil and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Mexico and these other nations that want to join, that want to move away from the US dollar onto a new world reserve currency. Why? Well, why do you think? Because then they don't have to listen to the United States anymore. So the leaders of this movement, China is really the leader of this movement. Russia also has their own interest in it, but primarily China is convincing these other countries, hey, if you come on our side, we're not gonna boss you around like the United States. You don't have to be you don't have to be second in line to the United States. You don't have to do everything. They're not your boss. You don't have to be their servant anymore. And these other countries are saying, yeah, you know what? That sounds pretty good to me. I'll be on their side. And what's going to happen when enough of these countries switch currencies is China's then going to exert control over them to the detriment of these countries. Obviously, we in the United States don't exert control over these countries. We are strategic allies, and we do require certain things from countries that are allied with us, especially countries who rely on our economy, but we do it in good faith. We don't do it in the imperialist way. We don't do it to try to plunder their nations. China is doing it because they're ideologically manipulating these countries. They're promising them that they're going to get whatever, X, Y, Z now if they come to China's side, if they leave the US dollar. But ultimately, China's just going to force them into ideological conformity with the Chinese Communist Party. A central bank digital currency puts us more quickly on that path. None of this, by the way, none of this financial stuff that's been happening, first with Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank collapsing and the FDIC bailing them out, but Janet Yellen saying, well, we're not going to bail all regional banks out, just some, probably based on wokeness. None of this is a coincidence. The inflation that we are suffering right now, which is obviously problematic for us and our families, paying for gas, paying for groceries, all the expenses, paying for energy bills, all of these expenses, that's problematic, but it's bigger than us as individuals. Because when the dollar is devalued, then these other countries actually feel the incentive to move towards China and Russia and the BRICS alliance versus sticking with the United States. And the inflation stuff that we are experiencing is not an accident. The financial difficulties that we are on the cusp of, this looming recession that we are going to face, this feeling that everyone has in the pit of their stomachs that we're on the verge of a real financial crisis, this is not an accident. This is not something that just happened. This is not something that's a natural part of financial cycles. This is a deliberate effort by people in the Biden administration who want the US dollar to be destroyed. They want to move us away, want to move the globe away from using the US dollar as the world reserve currency because they want to exert control over us through the digital dollar. And we can talk about individuals in the Biden administration like Lael Brainerd and Stephanie Kelton, people who believe in modern monetary theory. Modern monetary theory says, you know what, it doesn't matter if the dollar gets devalued. The government, especially when it's a currency issuer, should just print and spend as much money as they need. That way you don't have to bother the Congress to appropriate money, so the Congress doesn't have to be held accountable by their constituents. And, taxes we'll just use to keep people on the US dollar. That's the only way that the dollar doesn't completely explode. All of these things lead us directly to the people looking to the government to bail us out of a financial crisis, when the dollar does become so devalued, inflation becomes so high that people are like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to buy stuff? Then in swoops the federal government and says, actually, we're going to introduce a Fed coin. We're going to introduce this central bank digital currency. It's going to be great. It's going to stabilize the whole system. But what's going to happen is other countries aren't going to want to be part of that, as they shouldn't be. They're going to go to these BRICS nations. The US government is going to exert control over citizens using a central bank digital currency as a mode of control. We've seen examples of this already. Remember when PayPal said that anybody who they deemed hateful, they were just going to take several $1,000s out of their account as punishment, and you just had to agree to that as terms of service if you were going to use PayPal? That's not an accident. That's not what PayPal excused it, remember, and said, oh, this wasn't something that we intended to publish. No, but you intended to write it. You just didn't intend to launch it the way that it was launched. The people controlling the US government, the Democrats in office, the people controlling the US financial system, these big investment firms like BlackRock and Bank of America and all the rest of them, all the credit card companies, are compromised by radical leftist ideology. Many of them are even compromised by Marxist ideology. They want to destroy the American free market system. They're doing this through ESG. That's what ESG is. It's just a social credit score system for companies and corporations. But a central bank digital currency is the individual social credit score system that we talk about. It's just two ways of going at it. Two ways, one coming at the companies, one coming at individuals. So I like Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey is a force to be reckoned with. I have a lot of respect for him and the business that he built. I have a lot of respect for the advice that he's given people. He's helped a lot of families achieve financial freedom, learn to live within their means, learn to pay off their debt, and not have that burden hanging over their lives, be able to actually invest in time in their families instead of trying to work like crazy to pay off debt that's just accumulating. He gives good advice, except for this. He's completely, totally, utterly, naively, and dangerously wrong about a central bank digital currency. If we allow this to happen, it will be the beginning of the end of the American free market economy. The American free market economy that has not only served us and our families, but has served people all over the world, pulling people out of poverty, spreading freedom just through commerce, allowing us to build the civilization and the standard of living that we enjoy today. That's all on the line if America loses our free market economy, our economic strength, the leverage that economic strength gives us, and therefore our position as the world superpower. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.